Nuclear war. The unthinkable has become a grim possibility. Nuclear fallout across America. Cities face unique vulnerabilities in such a catastrophic event. Dense populations packed together like sardines in a panic room. Urban centers could suffer unimaginable chaos and long-term peril. So buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to uncover these unsettling realities. Our first stop on this delightful tour of potential nuclear targets, Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon ranks as one of the most vulnerable cities in America during a nuclear fallout due to its geographic location and significant urban development. See, Portland sits smack dab in the Pacific Northwest, a region known for its stunning natural beauty and, unfortunately, its proximity to potential nuclear threats. More people mean more targets, and in this case, the target is a delicious, locally sourced, gluten-free nightmare. Next up on our nuclear road trip, we're heading east to Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is highly vulnerable during a nuclear fallout due to its strategic location and dense population. Its bustling port makes it a prime target for disrupting trade. The population density is another concern. Imagine organizing an evacuation during a radioactive dust storm. Hold on to your hats, folks. We're diving into the heartland, where the Gateway Arch is a giant target. St. Louis, a major transportation nexus, is vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Strategically located, it connects the east and west. A nuclear attack here would disrupt the flow of goods and people. It's like knocking over the central tower and Jenga chaos ensues. Next, we're heading to the sun-drenched desert, where Phoenix, Arizona is feeling the heat, and not just from the scorching sun. Phoenix, Arizona ranks as one of the 20 most vulnerable cities in America during a nuclear fallout, largely due to its rapidly growing urban population. But that rapid growth comes at a cost, especially when you factor in the potential for a nuclear event. More people mean more potential casualties, and Phoenix's infrastructure, already strained by its growth, would be stretched to its breaking point. Buckle up, because we're heading to the Motor City, where Detroit, Michigan faces a unique challenge. Detroit's industrial prominence and strategic location make it vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Once a symbol of industrial might, Detroit now fights to revitalize itself. Its industrial heritage makes it a potential target in a nuclear attack. Located on the US-Canada border, Detroit is a strategic asset and prime target. Next stop on our nuclear nightmare tour, sunny San Diego, California. San Diego is one of the most vulnerable cities in America during a nuclear fallout due to its strategic military presence. Its major naval base and proximity to the border make it a prime target. A major military presence combined with a large civilian population, it's a recipe for disaster. Hold on to your cowboy hats, folks, because we're heading to the mile-high city, where the air is thin and the stakes are even higher. Denver, Colorado, is strategically located in the central region of the United States, making it a key infrastructure hub for transportation, commerce, and logistics. In fact, its central location and importance as a transportation and communication hub make it a prime target. Disrupting Denver would send shockwaves throughout the country, impacting everything from air travel to financial transactions. Next up, we're heading to the Lone Star State, where everything's bigger, including the potential for disaster. Dallas, Texas is a major economic hub with a significant urban population, making it vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. A direct hit would devastate the city and impact the state and national economy. It's like spilling barbecue sauce on new cowboy boots, messy, devastating, and heartbreaking. Grab your history books and hold on tight. We're exploring the potential fallout in Boston, Massachusetts. Boston, a hub of education and finance, is highly vulnerable during a nuclear fallout scenario. A nuclear attack would devastate American academia and finance. Imagine the devastation to the city and countless lives lost. It's like throwing a tea party in the aftermath of a hurricane. Next stop on our nuclear road trip, the city of brotherly love, where the Liberty Bell might soon be tolling for a different reason. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is one of the most historic cities in the United States. Known for its foundational role in the nation's independence, and its densely populated urban environment. Its dense population and historical landmarks make it a prime target. Imagine the devastation not just to the city itself, but to the priceless artifacts and historical sites that tell the story of America's founding. Pack your sunscreen and your Geiger counters, folks, because we're heading to Miami, where the heat is on in more ways than one. Miami, Florida stands as one of the most vulnerable cities in America during a nuclear fallout due to its significant coastal exposure and economic stature. But in the event of a nuclear attack, Miami's location and economic importance make it particularly vulnerable. Imagine the iconic Art Deco architecture reduced to rubble, the beaches deserted, the once bustling city transformed into a ghost town. Place your bets, folks, because we're heading to Las Vegas, where the odds of surviving a nuclear fallout are definitely not in your favor. Las Vegas, Nevada, widely known as a bustling tourist destination, also faces significant risks during a nuclear fallout due to its geographic proximity to historical military test sites. The desert landscape, once a backdrop for atomic tests, could become a radioactive wasteland once more. Imagine the neon lights flickering out, the casinos deserted, the once bustling strip transformed into a ghost town. Hold on to your peaches, folks. We're heading to Atlanta, Georgia, where traffic might be the least of your worries. Atlanta is one of the most vulnerable cities during a nuclear fallout due to its transportation network and population density. Its network, designed to connect, could become a conduit for radioactive fallout. Imagine the gridlock, the panic, the city grinding to a halt. It's like a plate of peach cobbler left out in the sun too long, messy and unpleasant. Grab your raincoats and potassium iodide pills, folks. We're heading to Seattle, where the future might not be as bright as you think. Seattle is a major port city and tech hub, making it a significant focal point in a nuclear fallout. Its strategic importance makes it a prime target. Imagine the Space Needle silent, coffee shops deserted, the city shrouded in radioactive dust. It's enough to make you want to curl up with a book and instant coffee in your basement bunker. Get ready to batten down the hatches, folks. We're heading to Houston, where the space program might be the least of their worries. Houston, Texas is a significant metropolitan area vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Its Gulf Coast location makes it vulnerable to natural disasters and potential attacks. Imagine refineries burning, hospitals overwhelmed, the city struggling to survive. It's enough to make you want to launch into space to get away from it all. Hold on to your sourdough bread, folks, because we're heading to San Francisco, where the tech boom might be facing a bust. San Francisco is a major hub, but its dense population and critical infrastructure make it highly vulnerable. Imagine the Golden Gate Bridge collapsing, tech campuses deserted, the city a radioactive wasteland. It's enough to make you trade your smartphone for a can opener and your sourdough bread for beans. Bundle up, folks, because we're heading to Chicago, where the wind might be carrying more than just a chill. Chicago, Illinois is a major metropolitan area with significant economic and transportation infrastructure, making it vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Its location on Lake Michigan, while scenic, also makes it vulnerable to contamination. Imagine the skyscrapers empty, the L train silent, the bustling city a ghost town. It's enough to trade your deep dish pizza for a gas mask and your blues music for the sound of silence. Grab your Metro cards and emergency supplies, folks. We're heading to New York City, where dreams are big, and so is the potential for disaster. New York City is densely populated and economically significant, making it highly vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Its landmarks and financial status make it a prime target in a nuclear attack. Imagine the Empire State Building crumbling, Times Square deserted, the subway tunnels silent. It's enough to make you trade your bagels for iodine tablets and your Broadway tickets for a remote island. Hold on to your sunglasses, folks, because we're heading to Los Angeles, where the City of Angels might face its biggest challenge yet. Los Angeles is a major hub with a dense population and critical infrastructure, making it vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Its sprawling landscape and large population make it a prime target. Imagine the Hollywood sign crumbling, beaches deserted, freeways empty. It's enough to make you trade your screenplay for a survival guide. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because we're heading to Washington, D.C., where the political theater might take on a whole new meaning. Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital with significant political and military importance, making it highly vulnerable during a nuclear fallout. Imagine the Capitol building in ruins, the White House deserted, the monuments standing silent in a radioactive wasteland. It's enough to make you want to trade your political ambitions for a shovel and a gas mask. Okay, take a deep breath. I know that was a lot to process. The vulnerabilities are all too real. This video isn't meant to scare you into becoming a doomsday prepper. It's a wake-up call, a reminder of our fragile societal structures. The best way to survive a fallout? Prevent it from happening.